Hey guys, it's Bill from Linden, Tennessee. So, got a bit of work done this weekend. Pretty good. Had a heck of a time getting up off the couch Saturday. So Saturday morning happens and I wake up without an alarm. It's wonderful. And I make my coffee and I sit on the couch and a cat gets in my lap and half the morning is gone before I finally peel myself off the couch to come in here and do something. And I'm glad I did because I got quite a lot done. Front wise, I had to do a little bit of work on this DC-DC converter. The DC-DC converter, the enable in, so it gets 12 volts from the ignition source, from an ignition source. In this case, I have it tied to a relay in the relay box. I could have it just directly to the ignition, but I don't have it to a relay. I have the BMS to a relay, to that same relay. And so what was happening is, whenever you turn the key on, that relay engages, sends 12 volts to that center tap of the top of the BMS. You just barely see it. So it sends 12 volts to that. That activates the BMS. BMS comes on and it does what it does, which is great. And then when you turn the key off, the relay turns off, but there are capacitors inside the BMS. And what happens is those capacitors obviously have voltage on them, and they send that voltage out that connector in that wire. And since it's tied to the same wire as the BMS, it sends the power to the BMS and never turns the BMS off. And then what happens, if you try and charge it, the BMS thinks that the key is on, because it's the only time it's going to get that, it's what's called ready power. It thinks the key is on, and then you plug the J1772 in, and it gets charge power. And when those two things happen, then it freaks out and it sends a code. So what I had to do is I had to come over here to this little, and put a little relay right here. And so now what goes on, whenever you turn the key on, power comes from this relay like it's supposed to and goes and turns on, and it goes through the normally closed connection right here on this relay. It goes to the normally open connection on this relay. And then whenever you connect power, that relay activates and it sends power through that relay into the DC-DC enable. When you have that off, I've got another wire coming from this little ABC2 module. There's some relays on it. Whenever you plug the J1772 in, it connects that little relay there, and it sends power also to this relay, but it sends power to the normally closed side of the relay. So whenever you got J1772 plugged in, you're charging, 12 volts comes from there through this relay, through the normally closed section of it, and turns on the DC-DC converter. That way, DC-DC converter is running when it's charging. I don't have any pumps or anything going, but the BMS is on, and I don't know. It's just vampire loads could occur while it is charging. If I don't have a way to turn the EVSE off, the box on the wall. Everybody calls it a charger. It's not a charger. It's an electric vehicle support equipment. But anyway, I don't have a way to turn that thing off when it charges complete. So until I come to the Jeep the next morning to go, the EVSE will be on all night, and the BMS will be on all night, and anything else associated to that will be on all night. So the DC-DC will be on as well, and it'll just keep the 12-volt battery topped up, so I don't ever have to worry about having a flat battery, having a dead battery. I lived in England for 8 years, so sometimes I say England words. Dead battery the next morning, so that would be bad. And so something's kind of fun. The 9th, December 9th, was my wife and I's our 10th anniversary. And the 10th anniversary apparently is 10, T-I-N, is the 10. Like, I don't know, one of them is silver, one's gold, one's platinum, bronze, coal, I don't know. But 10 apparently is 10. So she got me a 10 of Altoids. Either that or she's trying to tell me something about my breath. I don't know. I think it's probably both. And also, this is pretty awesome. I got all this stuff installed. I'm very, very psyched about this. From the battery, it comes up this wire, goes across this 100 amp main fuse, comes down this one, goes around back, comes up here, goes through these two 40 amp fuses, and then comes out these, and these are the two power cables for the amps. So one of them comes over here, one of them comes up here. Then these are the grounds. This is the RCA's in from the head unit, and then these are the speaker outputs. Got front and rear speakers. Front speakers are in the dash, rear speakers are in the sound bar. And then over there is my amp for my subwoofer. That's the outputs for the subwoofer. I've got two outputs for a subwoofer, and these are just, both of these give the positive side of the subwoofer, and both of these give the negative side of the subwoofer. Now, I could have just taken the negative from this one and and just combine the two negatives, but I know which one's which, and that's all that matters. And then they go into the subwoofer. Now, the subwoofer is mounted pretty dang securely. You see back here, there's some metal plates, and those plates are screwed down to this half-inch plywood. And there's 4 of those half-inch plywood, and then so that's how it holds down to the bottom. And then the top, there's another piece of angle right here, and that's got 3 screws going up into this. Now, this is 2 layers of 3/4 inch MDF, so that's 1.5 inches thick. So this has got some 1-inch drywall screws going into that. 3 of them on each corner, so that's however many that adds up to. And what it means is that sucker is solid. Now, as for this thing, there's a little bit of a bump right here. It's because there's a hinge. So this part is actually bolted to some framework that's behind these amplifiers. You can't see the mounting screws, but this is bolted to solid framework that's welded to the chassis. And then this has got a big piano hinge that goes all the way across. And then this whole thing pivots up, and if I ever need to do any maintenance on it or whatever, then I can try and do it one-handed. I don't know if I can. Oh, I can't do it one-handed, sorry. But this is a really tight connection right here. There she is. Yeah. So she got me a Altoids 10, so that's kind of cute. So that's what we got going on here, and that's pretty awesome. And then up here, of course, is the head unit, and we can play it right now and see what it does. Now, I don't know what YouTube's going to do about that because, I don't know what YouTube's going to do about that. That'll be interesting because we'll see. So that is where we're at now. The drive unit doesn't actually work. I have the key on. So I have the key on right now, but the drive unit doesn't work. I have to do a screenshot of the... so I need to have an iPad or an iPad mini or something to Bluetooth to the controller, and then I have to do a screenshot of that and send that screenshot to EV Controls, and then they do something. I don't know what they do. Maybe they have to remote into my computer or something, but nothing happens whenever I try and put it in gear or put it in drive. But anyway, that is what I've been up to this weekend. So pretty excited about that. I got new shocks. Got some Bilstein shocks. I went on my TJ Facebook pages and said, hey, what shocks do I need? And it was overwhelmingly Bilstein 5100s. These are the old shocks that came with my suspension kit. They are just too darn long. I think this suspension kit is supposed to be like a 6-inch lift or something. I don't know. And I've got about 3 inches of lift. So that basically bottoms those springs out, or those shocks out. So that's a bummer. So I had to get some slightly shorter shocks. So I've done that. And those still need to be installed. Things to do. What's left to do? Get the drive unit running. And there are probably some other things. I need to double check the alignment on the suspension system. I think this axle, I don't think it's straight. I don't think it's perpendicular with the frame. I think the tire we're looking at now needs to kind of go back about a 1/2 inch or so, but I'm not sure. I'll need to try and measure that. What else? I think that's kind of all we got. I made a little list of things to do. Oh yeah, I've got a little receiver hitch. Let's go get it. Let's show you the receiver hitch. So I got this guy, the receiver hitch. What I'm gonna do with it is I'm gonna mount it. So So I'll notch out the frame. I'll notch out the bumper right here, notch that bumper out, and it'll be welded down and back and up and around, and maybe put some corner gussets on it. But it's just nice to have a front receiver hitch, so that way when the time comes that I have a winch, I can put the trailer on the front receiver hitch and use the winch to pull something up on the trailer. I don't know. It's just, it just is what it is. So that's where we're at now. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.